Hello, Uluscri here. I've got a fun little creation here to share with y'all. Well, an in-progress creation, but I haven't done a video in this format in a while, but, I have obviously written notes and everything here. So I figured that this is the best format to do this in. I wanted to have a title for this language. I thought I had a title for that page, but I guess I don't. This is my very in progress idea for a nonlinear writing system. Well, not a writing system, just a nonlinear language that is strictly written. I am very much still developing this as we speak. The last symbols I made were literally like 5 minutes ago, so yeah. I hope the audio quality is okay. I'm filming this in my backyard right now, in my deck, in my parents' deck. If there's some plant noises as they're blowing around in the wind, then that's why. Yeah, why not just dive in here? So the initial idea here was just a purely writing-based language. I got the idea from my partner. I just got a Discord notification from my laptop. I got this idea from my partner. They have a writing-based language. It's completely written. There's no spoken part of the language, and so I was inspired to try that. And as you might be able to tell, it evolved over time in the making of it. So yeah, I was thinking it could just have some symbols that had content meaning, these were the meaning symbols, and then you just applied modifiers and stuff to them to make them into verbs, nouns, whatever, etc. I guess before I go any further, I should explain the very basic idea and the very basic rules of this language as it currently is, because a lot of this that I've written down is a little bit old now. It's like a few days old, which in the beginning of starting a language, it's a few days can hold a lot of change. So the basic idea of this language as it is right now is that you have content symbols which mean certain things, but you need markers to give them their place in a sentence or their place even in a story, whether it's a noun, proper noun, adverb, adjective. I like to lump those under the umbrella term of describer, or just, I think the more used term is modifier, which, where is it? I put it right there. But yeah, and these symbols, to be used, they have to be in containers. And these containers can be any shape. They can be circles, squares, triangles, in the shape of a cat. I don't know, whatever you want it to be. The only specification is that a container has to be enclosed. And none of the symbols can be enclosed, or else you might confuse it for a container. So it's got to be an enclosed space, and that's a container. And containers are ways of organizing these symbols into higher structures, into meaning. As you put more containers on it, you turn it into a word, and then to a sentence, a paragraph, a chapter, a whole story, or a poem or something. And the whole shtick in my mind is that you can position these symbols within a container however you want, as long as the meaning is there and you can understand it, no matter which direction you read it in, no matter how you see it. You'll always be able to get the same meaning out of it. Or if the creator of this piece of, I don't even know what you would call it, literature, poetry, whatever you want to call it, art, whoever the creator of this piece is, can leave it more ambiguous if they really want to. That's part of what I want to do long term with this system, is have it be a fully customizable system. So you have a blank slate. If you want to use this container system, then all you have to do is create your own set of symbols, or you could use someone else's set of symbols. I have a set of symbols right here that I'm creating, but you could make your own, and you could define them. You could leave them completely ambiguous if you wanted, and yeah, you could just let people guess at what you're trying to say, which in itself could be an interesting exercise. But yeah, like I wanted to create this system of containers, and it's very bare right now. It doesn't go very much farther than there are containers that exist that you can organize stuff into and organize meaning into and create higher structures. My basic idea right now, just to start to get into the details a little bit. My camera's having a little bit of trouble focusing on this for some reason. Come on. So as it turns out, my phone was getting too hot. It is like 90 degrees out right now, so that'll do that. Recording for a prolonged period of time will also do that. So I've moved to my air-conditioned room here. Got my nice little desk area. Getting into the details here. Some of this I've since changed in my mind. I just haven't gotten around to writing it down yet. So originally, the symbols had the markers on them directly, but now the markers are on the containers around the symbols. So like for a noun, now it's just a straight line. It doesn't have any of like the bracket stuff on it. But now it's just a straight line. A verb is a single like hump. I describe it as a squiggle with one crest because there's other versions of the squiggles. There's squiggles with multiple crests later. I don't know if I'm going to keep this as a describer, especially because if you look up here, the purpose of this was that you could have multiple arrows and that would tell you how many words over the describer is describing. Like the words are not going to be just in a line. Originally, I thought they were going to be in a line, but now I'm thinking, they can just be anywhere within the container, anywhere on the page. Get some more creativity there. I also don't know if I'm going to keep that. I kind of want to make each of these markers be analogous to a content symbol. Like you'll see in a moment, the straight line is a content symbol. Squiggle with one hump is a content symbol, stuff like that. And you can see this is where I started to think of it as a nonlinear language. I toy with the idea of sentences also being read in any direction and, trying to brainstorm stuff about that. I just realized that I haven't mentioned, I write my notes in sort of like a personal shorthand that I've figured out. You can read it pretty easily. It's not very difficult. I just get rid of some of the vowels in a lot of words. So yeah, this bullet point is very telling of my thought process here, which is like, maybe half the fun is figuring out what order the sentences and the words and the paragraphs are supposed to be read in. Making it sort of ergodic, I think the word is, ergodic in that way. And yeah, you can see I'm like questioning how this can work. I start getting the idea of containers. Yeah, and this is just like, these are very rough ideas. But I think I'll skip to the symbols so that you can just see those. This is where I'm starting to talk about the symbols themselves. How many do I want? My idea right now is to have just basically as many as I need. They can be as specific as I think they should be. And that's turning out to be not especially specific so far, but we'll see with how deep into the symbology I get. But here we have the beginning of the content symbol list. This is the real meat of what I've done so far. This is where a lot of the thought has gone into. And this is my personal set of symbols. I still have a lot of rule making to do with the containers. This is just my personal list of meaning symbols. The first one is just a dot. And I should clarify that a filled-in shape is not a container. A container has to be like a hollow shape, which you can sort of tell right here. I specifically made this not a container for that reason. But filled-in shapes like that is a symbol. You can sort of tell, yeah, I've changed a few things here and there. But yeah, so this dot is just a unit, the number 1. And the way that my symbols work is that these drawings are sort of like the idealized versions of these symbols, but they can be drawn in any way that follows the rules in the parentheses. So, like, for instance, position, location is two lines crossing through each other perpendicular. So these lines could be any length. You can make these like really long as they cross perpendicular. That's position. And you can do some interesting stuff with that. And that, the same applies to all of these symbols. Okay. My phone has gotten hot again, apparently. So if the video quality has gone down because of that, that's why. So I'll go a little bit quicker here, since I've described a lot of the rules and stuff. Change is just a squiggle with one crest. Putting change onto a container turns whatever's into it into a verb. Just a straight line is constant, unchanging, still. You've already gone through position. Direction is pretty clear. You get the arrow there. Life is any squiggle with greater than or equal to 4 crests. So, and a crest is like top and bottom thing, or top or bottom, I should say. And then you have structure is a right angle. Motion was an interesting one because I was really trying to make a way to like put change into location. Position is 2 constants going through each other, so I thought that maybe motion could be 2 changes touching each other, is sort of in a way that's reminiscent of position, because motion is changing position. So yeah, container is just a container looking thing. I've been told by my partner that this is actually, I'm pretty sure this is how it's drawn in Tokipona. I'm still learning the language. Mi kamasone Tokipona, but I don't know many of the symbols yet, so I just thought of this independently, which is interesting how this symbol can just very easily be considered a container across like different minds. But yeah, and this is hollow. Ideally, it would be a closed shape, but that's just, them's the rules of the containers. So yeah, time and space are really fun ones. I got this inspiration from my partner because I was trying to think of what a spiral should be, because I wanted a spiral definitely. And so it's just like a spiral because, time keeps going, but as time goes, it gets a little different each time. And spirals are theoretically infinite as you go infinitesimally small. In space, this same sort of thing, except it's right angles. And I've thought of having a spiral that's like acute angles or obtuse angles, which could be interesting. I haven't thought of what they should be yet, but I like that as a concept. Unpredictability is 2 life symbols crossing, because when 2 living organisms interact with each other, it can be very unpredictable. Trap is pretty self-explanatory. It's a little spike in a container, or in like a hollow space. A path is sort of like a lightning looking object, but it's just 2 right angles pointing away from each other. Revealed is pretty obvious. It's like, you got the lid going off to one side. Journey went through a lot of stuff, as you can tell. Originally, it was going to be basically the same as path, but the right angles are smooth, which is what's drawn here, but I've since rethought it so that it's just a squiggle with 2 crests. So, like, if you look later on, these are like derivations of journey. Size is like an obtuse angle, which I can't even like rationalize why I made it that way, but I did for some reason. It just feels right. I don't know why, but yeah. Filled, whole is a filled in shape, filled in quadrilateral. Partially filled incomplete is a partially filled one. And then the derivations from time, so you have beginning, which is the start of the spiral, and then end, which is the end of the spiral. Bonus points to anyone who recognizes this as chaos. And then there's a few derivations from location. The first one is center with a dot in the middle of location. Some derivations of journey. So we have origin with a dot at one end, destination with a line at one end, and then experience, which you gain through going through a journey. It's like the whole of the journey makes experience. And then some derivations off location. Peripheral is just a dot on one of the outer edges. Surrounding is all of the edges are filled up with dots. Surrounded is the dot in the center of location with lines around it. And as you might be able to tell, my convention here is that a dot is sort of showing like the focus of the symbol, and then lines are other actors in this symbol other than the dot. So yeah, like you can see that the dot is being surrounded. Touch originally was just two straight angles meeting at right angles. Or it's two straight angles. I just said two straight lines meeting at right angles. But I changed it to not perpendicular because, I mean, you'll see later on, the two lines are touching. Whoa. I kind of like this one. Nothing is just nothing. Nothing. Which you can surmise because if you have an empty container, there's nothing in there. So yeah. And then some derivations off life. So you have sort of the formula off journey. In life's case, it's birth, death, and a lifetime, an entire life. And the same sort of thing with derivations off of change. So you have cause, effect, and then the sort of grouping of cause and effect. That sort of like whole process as a concept. And then randomness is fun. Randomness is literally just a dot with more than or equal to 5 random extrusions. So if I go, where did I put it? Here we are. So you can sort of see, I've made some doodles here. These were other ideas for randomness, but I felt like they would be too hard to define. So you can see these are some random symbols here. Perpendicular, literally just a perpendicular symbol from mathematics. Parallel is just a capital H, 2 parallel lines. I should have explained from the very beginning, but symbols have to have continuity. So like a single symbol has to be fully connected with itself. So you can't have 2 isolated symbols meaning one thing. That doesn't work because of the nonlinearity of it. Those could be interpreted as 2 separate symbols. Like if you have 2 straight lines for parallel, those could just be 2 constant things. A line with 2 dots on the end, so basically just a line segment, are same, equivalence, and this is contrasted with difference, which is a dot and any non-dot shape on the other end. A loop is just a non-closed loop, can't be closed. And then a cycle is a loop except with like a little half arrow coming off the side, like a direction arrow. Harm, danger is like a little spike. And I wasn't sure if that shape was included in the rules of any other shape, any other symbol, but I couldn't really find anything. So that's harm, danger right now. There's a couple of derivations off of parallel. You have concurrent, so like 2 things moving in tandem, and then opposition as an idea. Some derivations off of cycle, so we have return, going to the same location that you started at. Boundary, the idea here is that it's like everything between the dots here are the boundary. Oh, and I should clarify that these lines, for same at least, are straight. This isn't under the umbrella of same. I mean, these parentheses are sort of very basic descriptions, and they'll be more detailed whenever I like fully write this stuff down in like a dedicated document. Piercing is like the point where danger happens. That this meaning could be maybe generalized a little bit since it's the point where danger is happening. Like maybe this is just danger and that is harm. That actually makes a lot more sense. I might change that. But corner is, the corner of structure with a dot there. Some derivations off of space. So you have outside is a dot on the outside of the spiral, and then inside is a dot on the inside of the spiral. This was a weird one to write, but I do like how I visually did this. So like largeness is, this thing is larger than that thing. So you get a sense of like largerness, large, big. Smallness, smallerness is like the opposite direction. And then the final page. So these are things that I've done today. So you have like emission is a little journey line with an arrow coming out of something. And there's a few derivations off of this that I could think of. The line will stay an emission because emission, you're emitting out of something. So I kind of like that. Some derivations off of direction. So like towards, to something, from is going away from that, through is going through the dot. So yeah, I have some ideas with deriving accusative parts of a sentence. So like going to a place, if you want to communicate that, you could say like I motion, and then whatever the verb, whatever the noun is that you're going to, you put this on the container, which you'll actually see a little bit in. I have a couple of examples here. And actually, I don't need that anymore. Let's get the examples out. In this bigger thing, I have just a couple of quick examples that I drew out just as like a proof of concept sort of thing. It's not especially pretty, but I tried to make it interesting. So, you have this sentence, and I probably should have like covered these up so that you could guess what it means. That would be interesting. Within this wider container is like the sentence. You can see like these smaller containers are holding their content meanings and have the markers on them. And I'm still deciding if I want containers touching each other to have any meaning. Right now it doesn't, and it could definitely help out with adding some extra lanes for meaning. Because if it's too creative, and if it's too open-ended, then creating meaning in a real way is more difficult. And, at that point you just get pure art. So you do need some rules. It's a balance. I want this language to be very creative and very customizable, but I also want it to be rigid enough that you can create meaning out of it. We have the noun of the sentence and the verb of the sentence. It's a very simple construction here. No other nouns are in here, so there's no need to specify the subject. Though it could be interesting, I could have a subject symbol, and then if this doesn't have a subject symbol and it's only one noun and a verb, then that could have its own meaning. That's not the verb, or the noun is verbing. That could be interesting. But anyways, this specific thing, so we have the chaos symbol here, the unpredictability symbol here. So the very simple translation is the noun chaos is doing an unpredictable verb. It's unpredictablying. But I mean, I've translated it into plain English here as chaos is unpredictable. That's just a very basic example. And then a little bit more of a complicated example, got a subject, verb, object sort of deal here. And this is very, very beginner. I literally thought of this on the spot as I was doing it. So you've got this noun here, life. This emitter symbol could be pointing anywhere. And actually, I just realized that I never put the verb symbol on there. So yeah, now it's a verb. But yeah, this emitter symbol could be pointing up and it would mean the same thing, or it could be pointing sideways, diagonally, whatever. And then this direct object, it's signified as a direct object because of this towards symbol. So like life emits unpredictability. You can make the same symbol in a different way. So like there's one version of unpredictability, there's another. The life symbols are a little bit offset as they're crossing. And then the wider container making it into like one unit. This is the sentence. Like if these wider symbols weren't there, then, come on, focus. You would have to conclude that these go with that. That's why these containers are so important in this system. And I'm sort of toying with the idea of like making this towards symbol go from the verb to the direct object, which would actually be a lot nicer. It would get the point across a little bit more directly. But that's just how I wrote it in the moment. I literally thought of this in like a minute or two, so yeah, have that as you will. And yeah, so that's the whole showcase, the quick showcase of the system as it is right now. I do want to develop this more. I'm toying with the idea of making a Discord channel for this whole idea, this whole system. Anyone can join it. Or I might just have it as a channel on my already created personal Discord channel that's connected to this YouTube channel and all my other stuff. But this idea might be a bit too big for that. For now, if you want to tell me what you think of this or give any ideas for this whole system, then feel free to comment below. If you enjoyed the video, then like it, share it with your conlanging friends. But yeah, so that is this video done with. Outro, outro, outro. I'm going to start working on the next, like, big proper world building video soon. It's going to be about a gravitational magic system, so look forward to that. I am trying to commit myself to making videos a lot more frequently, so expect that not like 3 months from now. And I will try to be updating you on this language as I create it, because I am getting pretty into it. So expect more videos on this, and expect a official name to be made for it eventually. Right now it doesn't have a name. But yeah, so for now, I will see you in the next video. I have a Ko-Fi page if you want to support me monetarily. It would help a lot in making these videos come out more frequently, because right now I'm working a part-time job. So yeah, I will see you in the next video. I hope you're having a great day, and I hope you go absorb the world some today. Bye! Oh, and I forgot to mention that in thinking of this project, my partner shared with me this cool language called Uncur. You can look up like Uncur nonlinear writing system and it'll show up on Google or whatever search engine you use. It's this cool nonlinear writing system. Very similar to this, but I didn't even realize that it existed beforehand. But I looked at it very cursorily and I thought it was very interesting. So I recommend that you check that out. If you like this idea, then you'll definitely like that idea, because I did. I think it's really interesting. It's a little bit of a different system. It doesn't have any like containers or anything. I'll have the website to that linked in the description. The website that I found, at least. So yeah, again, I hope you have a good day. Bye. Bye for real this time.